Hey guys, welcome back to Creating Home. My name's Melissa. Thanks so much for joining me again today. Our project this week is going to be creating a chair cushion for this antique chair. We've had this chair in our family for a lot of years and it's a really beautiful piece, but it's something that I use at my vanity to put my makeup on, and it's pretty uncomfortable with this cane seating. So I want to make a custom cushion for it. I picked up this $6 cushion from Walmart, and we are going to customize the shape of this to fit this chair. And we're going to cover it with some extra fabric that I have from the drapes in our bedroom. So let's get started. So I feel like the scale of this cushion is okay, but the shape is wrong. And I think what I mainly need to do for this insert is to round the corners in the front and the back. And so I think what we can do is easily just come in here with some pins. Actually, I might mark it with an actual pin, just the shape of the chair, and then just kind of go in, because this is not terribly thick, with my sewing machine, and just create this curve. So keep this front just original, and we'll go in and sew down these lines. And then I'm going to do the same in the back. And then after I do that, I can trim those areas off. Okay, let's start with that. Okay, I'm going to set my machine for a heavy duty stitch here. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to go around this curve that I've traced out with the sewing machine, just to create a new form. I think this is going to work just fine. Okay, that worked really well. Yeah, that worked well. Okay, so let's cut off this. So you can see the new seam I've created right here. And now I'm just going to go in with my scissors and just cut this extra off. Okay, so you can kind of see before on this side and after with our new curve here. So that worked really easily. Okay, I think I might need to take out a little bit of the stuffing. So we'll just go in and go ahead and trim off the part that did work right in here. I'm just going to kind of pull some out, so it's just not, so I don't have to run over it. And this is going to be the insert, so perfection is not necessary. We just want to create the shape that we need. The actual cushion cover that we make with that floral fabric, it will cover a multitude of sins here. So we just need a rough shape. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and cut the seam open and take some of the stuffing out. I think it's just too full right here. I just want to take a nice little wad of this out in the corner. And I'm going to cut all this. And now we'll just have an easier curve to go around on the back. And I'll do the same for this side. That really takes the bulk out of the corners, and I think we're already getting a much more rounded shape. So let's sew these corners up. You know, you could do this in a few different ways. You could really just create your own cover and stuff it with, you know, this kind of polyfill. But I just didn't have anything on hand. I didn't have any foam or anything. So this was a great option and really inexpensive. Okay, that may have taken me about 5 minutes to reshape this cushion into a more custom shape for our project. So let's see if this is going to fit better on our chair. Okay, we have our cushion seamed up and we kind of created these curves so it fits the chair much better now. And now I think it's time to start our cover. Okay. This is some extra fabric that I have from the drapes in our bedroom. And I think this nice floral kind of darker pattern is going to work really well for a chair cushion, particularly where I'm doing makeup. Just so if there's any residue on my hands or anything like that, it won't show as much as a light fabric would. And because it does have a big floral print, I do want to be mindful of that and make sure that we capture a nice part of the fabric on at least the top of our cushion. I'm going to flip it so I can see our pattern. Now, okay, let's see what we want for our kind of the middle of our, ooh, this is nice right here. I like both of these flowers. Let's see if that would fit on there nicely. It might end up being a little off-centered that way. Let's see what else we've got. Yeah, I might ought to come down just a little farther so that I could kind of capture this, these two flowers and make sure it's in the center of my cushion. Let's just treat this like it's a pillow. So let's measure seam to seam. So we have 17 inches, should be about the same this way. Actually, front to back is 16. And I'm going to add 1 inch to each of those measurements for my seams. So I need 18 inches wide by 17 inches deep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of find the middle of my fabric here. And I needed to go 18 inches across for the width. So I'm going to go find the middle of 18, which is 9. And I'm going to place that kind of in the middle of this area, because that's what I want to be the middle of my pattern. All right, so I'm going to go out to 18 inches here, make a line on either side, same over here. Okay, and if this is going to be the middle, then I'm going to swap it and go front to back, and that measurement needed to be 17 inches for a cut length. Kind of find the middle here is about here. We're going to put 8.5 here. So this is going to be right there, and then we're going to go at 17 inches. So I'm going to kind of cut it just as a square, and then we'll kind of round it out. Okay, and then our second piece will be much easier because we'll just use this and we will trace it. As you can see, our floral pattern is right in the middle, which is just important to think about when you're cutting out a cushion cover or a pillow cover or anything like that, because you want to capture the prettiest parts of the fabric. And I think I might have enough on this side. The underside I'm not quite as concerned about, but this actually looks like a pretty part of the fabric too. And we want, when we sew cushions, we want to flip our fabric so that it's face to face. And this was a little bit, okay, yeah, just making sure. I'm gonna let this be the back. So I'll go ahead and just put the back of our cushion here. Our cushion may not be perfect. It may have some kind of jagged edges, but I think that's totally fine because we're gonna make this more rounded or a little more precise. And I think it's just gonna, those corner pieces will just kind of get tucked in when we stuff it. Okay, I'm gonna kind of keep the same amount going around, but I'm gonna, and some of this really does kind of have to be eyeballed a bit. I wanna keep a bit of a seam allowance here. That looks pretty good. And what I might do is cut one corner and then fold it so I can mirror it. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm just gonna come in here like this. I think this looks pretty good on the curve. Okay, we have a nice curved piece right here that we've cut, and I'm gonna move our cushion out of the way. And what I'm gonna do, so we get a little bit more precise curve, is I'm going to take both pieces, and I'm gonna fold this in half, like that. And I will come in and trim this. Okay. And this was going to be the back of our cushion, so I might just write that. I might put a B on there real quick, and I might do one on this side just in case. Okay, that's the underside of the fabric, and that's not gonna matter. And then what I wanna do is I wanna take this and fold it on top this way in half, matching up this edge. Okay, like that. And then we will trim off. Let's see what we got here. Okay, that looks nice and symmetrical. And if I lay my cushion on top, that's doing pretty good. On this front, I think I'd like this to kind of round in a bit more, like this, and pretty much the same thing. At this point, we have kind of some rough shapes cut out, and what I'm going to do, and I do have a B on the underside for back on both sides, just so I can kind of remember which way my fabric is going. And the back of our cushion is right here. But what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do a bit of clips on here to make sure that this is going to fit as snugly as I'm wanting it to. So I want to leave some of this back open because for one thing, we need to be able to flip our cushion cover. And the other thing is I want to add ties, but I want to make sure I'm putting my ties in the correct location. Maybe I'll just do it this way with this piece. So on this particular chair, there's two options for ties. I could do ties here or on the back. I think I'm going to stick with the back. So I'm just going to kind of center my fabric here, and I'm going to make a little mark with my pen, just kind of right in the middle of where I'm going to want to tie. I'm going to just do a little tiny arrow. And the same over here. So I just have a few small marks on the fabric so I know where to start and stop sewing. And I'm going to use some clips and just kind of see if this is going to be nice and snug. Hopefully not too snug. So I'm going to start here and here. I'm going to leave this whole back open. And right here are going to be where I put my ties after we have made the rest of our cushion cover. However, I think I'm going to go ahead and put a clip in the very back just so I'm not pulling fabric away from that. I think this is going to be a nice fitting cushion. So I'm just going to clip all around the outline. Let's see if we can get it out. This is what we've created. Don't want to pull on the pins or the clips. Haha, yay. Great. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally follow along where the edge of these clips are with my seam, and that's going to give us a nice tight cover for our cushion. And I think one got messed up a little bit. I'm going to make a few little markings in case my clips. Just right here at the front of the clips. Okay. Those pin markings I think are probably pretty essential, unless you were to use some pins and just pin them kind of horizontally all along there. That would work well too. I'm going to start right here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and flip it inside out. Okay, let's do a dry fit on this without trimming anything off yet. Oh, I just had a thought. If there are any areas that seem a little jagged, we can come back with our extra polyfill that we pulled out and stuff this and make this into a really nice rounded corner. So that's going to help us out a lot, having this extra. Let's just do a sample here. I haven't used any of this in a long time. Come in here and just tuck it in there, and that's going to make a really nice filled out curved edge here. Flip this. Okay. It only takes another minute to put our cushion back in and make this revision. I'll like it a lot better in the end if I just take the time to fix it now. There's just a little bit of sharpness in here that I don't care for. So I'm just going to take my pen and mark where I want to soften those edges. Okay, I curved those corners just a little bit more on the sewing machine, and I'm going to go ahead and just trim off some of the excess here. I'm not going to go crazy, and I'm not going to do anything off the back yet since we have not worked on that. All right, let's fit this again. I'm going to flip our cover. And I am going to add some of this extra filling to these corners. And that's really going to be fill it in nice. That's quite a bit. I think that's looking really nice, and this is really going to be a very functional cushion for me. Okay, we are going to cut some thin strips about this wide for our ties, and I need to cut 4 of them. It's a couple inch wide strip. I'm going to make each one about, I was thinking 18 inches. To the ironing board. This is going to be kind of like forming bias tape. We're going to fold the fabric in half this way and press it, and then we'll take each seam and we will bring them in towards, meet them in the middle and fold them like that and press it again, and we will sew down that to make a tie. But first, pressing down the middle. And so what I'm going to do now is I only need one of the ends, either this one or this one, to be a finished edge. And so I'll open it back up, go over to my sewing machine, fold it down. So we have a finished edge here. I'll be a little more careful when I get over there. And I'll just sew carefully and just do a very small, close to the edge, stitch down here. And that will be my tie. And we can leave one end unfinished because it will be sewn, the unfinished edge will be sewn into or the back of the seat cushion. So I'm just going to create finished edges on one side of our tie and sew them up. Okay. All right, now we need to grab our pillow cover and we need to sew these ties into the back, and then we can assemble. I have marked in the back of this, see that little arrow right there? That is where I want one of my ties to go. And then the same over here. There's the other arrow. So these have to be sewn. I can do the front or the back. But see my arrows here? I will sew the unfinished edge onto the face of the fabric like this and sew a little seam across here. When I flip it back inside out, and then I can finish this seam here and make a smaller hole to get my pillow in and out. And then I can put it back in and either hand sew up the back or run it through the machine. My tie's on the pretty side. I'm going to sew them right onto where the arrow is. Probably would be easier if I just went ahead and took the cushion out. So that'll make it easier to get in here and sew these in. I'm going to do a pretty small seam. I want to back stitch over these, make sure that they are in place. Okay, so got 2 of them on that side, and then we'll put the other 2 over here. Okay, so now that the ties are on, you can see them both right there. Those are going to be the back side of the cushion. We're going to flip it inside out again. So we're going to flip it all the pretty stuff inside, including the ties. Okay. I want to make my hole significantly smaller than it is now, so that my seam that I need to sew up in the end is a lot smaller. I'm going to try to only leave myself about 8 inches or so like this. So I'm going to go ahead and come around these curves where we did our ties. This should be the final flip. And I hope we can still squeeze our cushion in here. Okay, so now our ties are incorporated into the seam, like so. And we just have a small pocket right here to hopefully be able to get our cushion inside. Whew, it's gonna be tight. Here we have our cushion with our ties, and we're gonna go back now with our stuffing and add a little bit to the front and sew this up and be done. Now all that's left is to sew up the back. Right here to finish it off. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna happen. I might have to hand stitch it. All right. I'm gonna have to hand stitch it. It's just not gonna fit under there. I'm just going to hand sew this up, which really gives a nice finish in the end. I really kind of like just doing it with a sewing machine because I feel like it's really strong compared to hand sewing it. But I'll probably go ahead and take that off and just go with our creases here. So I'm just gonna sew this up, but it makes a nice kind of internal stitch that's not seen. Okay, that fits really good. Oh yeah, I'm glad left the ties nice and long here. That makes just a really cute little bow. All right, the last tie. Oh, that's cute. Okay, I'm all done with this project and I really like how it turned out. It worked out well using that pre-made cushion from Walmart that was $6. It gave me a good starting point and I just rounded out the corners and kind of made it more into a circular shape. And it just turned out really cute. And I think it's gonna add a lot to the space in our master bath, and it's going to be a lot more comfortable to sit while doing makeup. And I also really like how the ties turned out. I think they're really cute and they add a lot to the chair. So I hope you enjoyed this and thanks for watching. Let's go put this in the bathroom.